Hello everyone, Sergeant Arnold here, and today we're going to be reacting to the First Crusade Part 2 out of 2 by Epic History TV. The last episode it talked about the People's Crusade, how whenever all those, it was just a bunch of regular old people. They weren't professional soldiers and they got slaughtered. And then the professional soldiers and knights came and, that's where we're at right now. This is going to be, they've been liberating some of the cities from all those different warlords, the Muslim warlords. And we're going to see where that goes. What are they going to do? Are they going to be successful? Well, we already know no. Let's start. First Crusade, Part 2. Ah, that music. Here we go.
October 1097. 2 years had passed since Pope Urban II preached a crusade to help the Byzantine Empire in its war against the Seljuk Turks. Now, the First Crusade had reached the great city of Antioch. It was...
Yeah, I was saying earlier that Antioch was a very important city.
The last major Turkish stronghold, standing between the crusade and its
Jerusalem.
goal, the holy city of Jerusalem. But Antioch was virtually impregnable, with its citadel atop a 1,000-foot mountain.
Wow, look at that. That's going to be hard. Looks like the Crusaders outnumber them. They have 4 banners, the Crusaders have 5.
And too large to encircle.
Yeah.
The giant Crusader army could only camp outside its walls and pray for a miracle.
Well, that's not a
But
very
that
good
winter,
strategy.
they ran out of food.
Oh no.
Men and camp followers began to starve.
That's not good.
A trickle of supplies continued to arrive by sea, mostly from the Byzantine-controlled island of Cyprus. And they
they controlled Cyprus?
defeated an attempt by Radwan of Aleppo to break the siege at the Battle of Lake Antioch. But the Crusaders' situation seemed hopeless. Morale fell, as deaths and desertions rose steadily.
That's not good.
In March, a Crusader fleet arrived with much-needed reinforcements and supplies. Good. Finally, one night, Bohemond of Taranto and 60 of his men scaled a tower on the southern wall, whose commander had been bribed. As dawn broke, Bohemond's men opened the city gates, and the Crusader army poured in.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, they massacred soldiers and civilians alike.
Rude.
While desperate Muslim survivors fled to the citadel.
Wow.
Which continued.
Oh, come on, they're not going to be safe in the citadel.
To resist all attacks.
Oh, wow. Nice. What about the rest of these Crusaders? What are they doing outside the walls?
Antioch had fallen. But now a giant...
I never said what happened at the citadel.
Turkish army was assembled under the command of Kur Burgha, governor of Mosul. First, he attacked Baldwin in Edessa. But abandoned his siege after 3 weeks and marched on Antioch.
Wait, what? Why did he abandon it, though? It seems like if he can't take over that smaller city, how does he expect to take over Antioch? Especially now that he's weakened from attacking Edessa.
The Crusader army was exhausted, starving, and now trapped.
Wow.
They could expect no help from the Byzantines. What? Emperor Alexius, busy securing his own territory in Anatolia, had received false reports that the crusade had already been destroyed.
What? Wow. How does that happen? Well, maybe, they got confused with the People's Crusade that happened. I don't know.
Fearing a Turkish counterattack, he withdrew to Constantinople. Then, inside Antioch, a relic was miraculously discovered. Supposedly the Holy Lance, thrust into Christ's side at his crucifixion.
Oh, wow.
And the Crusaders' faith in their holy mission was renewed.
That's nice.
Although heavily outnumbered, the Crusaders decided to meet the Muslim army outside the city walls. With the zeal
Oh,
of
wow. That looks...
religious fanatics.
Just looking at, like... You see those like, green bread bars? Well, just looking at that and the sizes, it seems like the Muslims outnumber the Crusaders by a lot.
Seeing visions of saints and angels,
What?
they charged the Muslim army,
Wow, that is crazy.
which turned and fled.
What? Dang. Why would you retreat, though? It seems like you have more men.
Kur Burgha, accusing his commanders of treachery, possibly correctly, set fire to his camp and withdrew.
Dang.
The Muslim defenders in the citadel, witnessing this stunning victory, quickly surrendered.
Wow. To Jerusalem.
In summer 1098, Fatimid forces from Egypt captured Jerusalem from the Seljuk Turks. Al-Afdal, Grand Vizier or Chief Minister of Egypt, saw the Seljuk Turks as his greatest enemy, and even tried to make an alliance with the Crusaders against them.
Oh, yes.
But the Crusaders were not interested.
Why?
Instead,
Why?
they spent 5 months around Antioch, foraging supplies and arguing among themselves.
Oh, gosh.
Stephen of Blois and Hugh of Vermandois had already given up and returned home.
What?
Now Bohemond of Taranto claimed the former Byzantine city of Antioch for himself, breaking his oath to Emperor Alexius
Oh, gosh.
to
You
return
donkey.
such territories to him. Bohemond argued that the emperor had broken the oath first by failing to help the Crusaders during the siege.
Well, he didn't know.
Divisions deepened after Bishop Adhemar of Le Puy died from illness. He'd been the Crusades' spiritual leader and a unifying presence on their council. Meanwhile, Crusaders carried out a brutal massacre of civilians at Ma'arat al-Numan. Pressure from the mass of ordinary Crusaders forced their leaders to put aside their differences and march south towards Jerusalem. Except for Bohemond, who remained in Antioch, where he declared himself prince.
Oh, my gosh. Sausage.
As the Crusaders entered Fatimid territory, many local rulers offered up money and supplies to avoid violence.
Oh.
Other villages had been abandoned. As the Crusaders neared Jerusalem, they found wells poisoned, trees cut down, and animals driven away.
Dang, so they knew that they would go for the Jerusalem.
Anything that could help the Crusaders had been destroyed.
Wow. Rude.
On the 7th of June, 1099, the Crusaders got their first sight of Jerusalem.
Wow, that must be really, really exhilarating to see. Like, their most holy, like, center for their religion. It just to, like, see it after years of fighting, like, away from home. It must be just incredible to see.
Many fell to their knees and wept with joy.
Wow.
But they faced a serious challenge. They were now reduced to about 12,000 fighting men.
Ooh, that's just not good.
Not enough to encircle the city, and they were running out of food and water. Jerusalem would have to be taken by storm. The barren landscape meant the Crusaders had no timber to build siege engines.
Oh, yeah, oh.
And on the 13th of June, their first assault with a single scaling ladder was easily repulsed. 4 days later, 6 Genoese galleys arrived at Jaffa, where they were soon blockaded by the powerful Fatimid fleet.
Oh.
So the sailors took apart their ships and carried the timber to the siege at Jerusalem.
Wow. That's interesting.
The Crusaders foraged more wood from the surrounding land, enough to build 2 siege towers.
Oh. Oh, they already took that part right there. Look, wow.
These mobile wooden structures would be wheeled up to the outer wall and allow the Crusaders to directly assault the enemy battlements. One tower was stationed with Raymond of Toulouse's forces in the southwest. The other was with Godfrey of Bouillon's troops to the north. On the 8th of July, seeking God's aid in the impending assault, the entire crusade walked in procession around the city, finishing with a religious service on the Mount of Olives. On the night before the attack, Godfrey suddenly moved his siege tower to a less well-defended section of the city walls. The final assault began on the 15th of July, 1099. In the north, Godfrey of Bouillon's troops managed to fight their way across from their tower onto the city walls, establishing a bridgehead. Soon, they were inside the city.
Oh.
And overcome with religious youth.
Well, there's still some, look, there's still some Muslim troops over there. I can, try to contain it.
Euphoria and pure bloodlust, they went on the rampage.
Rude.
Butchering soldiers and civilians, Jews and Muslims, women and children. It was an orgy of shocking, prolonged slaughter. Barbaric, but not unique for the age. The First Crusade had secured its goal in the face of overwhelming odds. And just 4 weeks later, at the Battle of Ascalon, the Crusaders smashed a Fatimid relief army sent to recapture Jerusalem.
Well, it seems like by now, the Crusaders have got to be really overextended.
Most Crusaders, their vows fulfilled, soon returned home to Europe. Only around 300 knights remained to defend Jerusalem.
300? Oh, God.
Under Godfrey of Bouillon, now named Defender of the Holy Sepulchre. The man who'd set these great events in motion, Pope Urban II, did not live to hear the news that Jerusalem had been taken.
Oh, no.
He died just 2 weeks after the city's fall.
Okay, that sucks.
The new Crusader states that emerged, the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the County of Tripoli, the Prince...
Tripoli? That's interesting. That was like a city all the way in Libya.
Principality of Antioch, County of Edessa, lived on precariously.
I've never heard of a lot of these cities before. I've never heard of Antioch. I've never heard of Tripoli, at least in Syria. I've never heard of it in there. And I've never heard of Edessa. But, I've heard of Jerusalem, and I think I've heard of Mosul. What happened to these 3 cities? Like, do they still exist? Or are they, so small that I've never heard of them?
Surrounded by enemies.
Or maybe I just don't know at all. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't heard of them.
And the Muslim world would not remain so catastrophically divided for long.
Yeah.
Soon it would unleash its own holy war against the Crusader states, turning the Holy Land into a battleground for almost 2 centuries.
Wow.
In response, more crusades would be launched from Europe, but none would ever match the bloody, spectacular success of the First Crusade.
Yeah, they achieved all their goals. Now all they have to do is keep the cities. Wow, that is a lot.
Research.
Wow, well that's it. Thank you all for... Sorry, I'm just stretching. Thank you all for watching. That was a great series. hopefully next time we can see the Second Crusade Part 1 and 2. If they even have them. I hope they do. Anyways, yeah, that was a pretty good series, seriously. Like I said earlier, the Crusaders, they're successful. Now, like I said earlier, all they have to do is keep hold of the cities that they already have. Seems like it's going to be difficult since they seem just a bit overextended. Like, they had 60,000 troops, and they expect to hold, like, all this territory. Well, everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And, turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. But yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, and if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.